Hey y'all, I've been playing a little bit and thought I would share with you what I've been doing. Let me show you this first. I have this box, and this is like my grab and go art box that I keep it on a shelf, and it's just this box of supplies and stuff that I can grab and take with me if there's some kind of like a pop-up art night at one of our local craft beer breweries. That happens. Or once a month our library has a paper crafters night. Or, I mean, there's, just different things. You get together with friends and work on a project. So this is the box that I grabbed to do that. And it's also my, boredom buster box, I guess. When I don't know what else to do, I'm not really inspired, I can just play with the stuff in here. So, and it's just scraps mostly. Paper scraps, printed papers, ephemera, and pieces of napkin and tissue paper, stuff like that. And this is some, I keep a deck of playing cards in here. Just random old playing cards, and then some vintage people that I've printed out. And this is because ATCs are super quick and simple to make. If you're in a group and you want to provide enough supplies for everybody to do something, this is super easy. And these are just images that I've collected over the years, free printables, and I'll talk more about that, where you can find some of those if you don't have any. But yeah, I'm going to make some ATCs, so I keep that in there. And then this is just more papers. Here's some words and phrases, and then just larger pieces of paper. There's old envelopes, wallpaper samples, book pages, sheet music, decorative paper, mulberry paper, big pieces of tissue, just stuff that sits around in my art room and doesn't get used. So it's in there so that it'll have a better chance of getting used. And then I have some wipes in this little box. Is just some basic tools, some scissors, some glue, an X-Acto knife. I have a little this that I usually throw in there in case I need a cutting mat. And so I got kind of everything that I need to make something if I need to do something on the fly. Or it's really just a good couch crafting box, It's just all right here in one little container. You can carry it to your couch or from room to room. So this is a good thing to have or consider if you don't already have one. So I'm going to use stuff from that box to make I'm going to start with the Masterboard. And let me show you some ones I've made. This one I made last year, and I still haven't done anything with it because I'm just not through looking at it. I really love it, and it's just, kind of vintage themed scraps and some printed ephemera. Most of this is from Taperlogy, and I can give you a link to that. They have some really good printed ephemera at really good prices. So yeah, I want to do, I think this needs to be a book cover. I just haven't gotten around to that. But anyway, it was a little more intentional. I kind of paid attention to what I was putting where. And so it looks a little bit planned, and that's okay. I like it. I love the way it turned out. But the ones I've been doing here in the last week or so are very random. This one is awesome, and I just glued my papers. I had some of these. This is 11 by 17 cardstock. It's not super heavy, just regular plain white cardstock. So that's what I'm gluing them on, just to make some bigger boards so that I can do whatever with. and they're, like I said, pretty random. I do have kind of a thought process that I'll share with you. If you have trouble with Masterboards and you're not quite sure what papers to pick and where to put them, I'll tell you how I process that, and maybe that'll be helpful for you. So there's one, here's one, and both of these started out underneath. The very first layer that I put down is I covered the entire piece of cardstock with some coffee dyed scraps. I had these strips. I've got this whole container full of coffee dyed strips, and I can't remember where these came from. I don't know if they were, I mean, some of them look like they were cut strips and then I coffee dyed the strips, but it's hard to tell because maybe they were coffee dyed to begin with and I cut them into strips. I mean, clearly they're offcuts from something. I just don't remember what, but okay, there they are. There's a lot of them. There's different sizes, so I thought, all right, this would just make a good kind of base layer, because I'm not covering every square inch of my Masterboard. I don't need to if I start with this. See, this is the background showing through perfectly fine. There's another spot. So this is great if, you know, I know I want like a vintage theme, so not super bright colors and patterns, kind of subdued, and then it just, when that background coffee dyed thing peeks through, it's perfectly fine. So I'm really liking this, and these are a couple that I started. I just laid the strips down, and then I'll go in with my box of scraps and fill in. So I'm going to show you how to do this, how I do this. I mean, this is nothing new, okay? Everybody's making Masterboards. You just basically glue stuff to other stuff. We can do this, but I'll kind of talk about my thought process in case you, because I know it can kind of trip you up a little bit to decide what to put, where to put it, how to put it, and I do have kind of a little bit of a method for that. So let's just make a Masterboard. And, you know, I talked about, I have the little go box that I make ATCs. Here's some of the ones that I've made. See, this one I did, let me zoom a little bit. There we go. This one I did just the other day, and then some of these are from a while back. And they're very similar, just random, kind of weird backgrounds, and then a foreground image, and usually a little word or a phrase. Super simple, but fun to make. Fun to share. So those are the ATCs that I get from this process. But like I said, you know, like I really want to do a journal cover for that one, so you can use it for other things. Now I'm going to start with, I cut my 11 by 17 cardstock in half, and that gives me 8.5 by 11. So most of us, I'm sure, don't have 11 by 17 on hand, but you probably have an 8.5 by 11. You can do paper. Like I said, this is just sort of a flimsy cardstock. And I'm going to use my mostly Mod Podge glue and a little brush. And I will need this. And for the background, I'm not going to use those strips, but I recently did some videos where I coffee dyed some papers. So I just pulled a couple of those. Some of them were stencils, and you know, this one just didn't quite do what I wanted it to. So this will be a great one to use up. So that's what I'll do. And I'm just gonna, let's do this. Let's just make some pieces, some chunks, and start from there. I'm going to put my glue down, and yep, this is wet glue going on dry paper, which means buckles and wrinkles. Not crazy about the hard edges, so I usually will just tear those off so I can have torn edges. If I do have a straight edge, I'll put it up against the edge of the page. Let's do that. And then more Mod Podge on top. Now if your paper is not too thin, you can just take a card and kind of smooth it out like this and eliminate most of your wrinkles and buckles. This paper was already wrinkled to begin with, so that's alright though, because they're flat wrinkles. They're not real lumpy. Do like that. If you have a really thin tissue paper, you might need to let it dry a little bit, and then you can heat gun it and put parchment on top and do this. That's just a little tip for flattening out your pieces as you go so that you don't get a lot of wrinkles and buckles. So I'll do over here. I do keep most of my pieces of paper. I will glue them down, either you know, portrait or landscape. I rarely go diagonal. For me, it just feels better, it looks better if I do it like this. And maybe that's just a personal preference, I don't know, but that's what I do. Keep it, you know, portrait or landscape. I avoid diagonal. Okay, and keep going with more. I can do long ones, and I'm not throwing away these little edge pieces because I might go back and actually put them on the edge, so I'm going to keep that. And squeegee. And since we are just kind of collaging down, if I do end up, you know, tearing a piece, it doesn't really matter. That's why I'm not bothering with drying it and using some parchment on top. Not really necessary. So I'm going to keep going with this a little bit. I may add some of these others. And I am going to completely cover this background because I really like how it worked out with the others. So let me finish my gluing here, and then we'll come back and go on to the next step. I got all my background pieces glued down, and everything is nice and smooth. Once I got everything done, I did go back and just warm it up a little bit with my heat gun, and then put down a piece of parchment and went over it kind of firmly with my card, and that smoothed out any remaining wrinkles or bubbles that I might have had. When I glue my pieces down, I usually go off the edge just a little bit, you know, even if it's a piece that's straight on the edge and the edges would match up. I overlap a little bit just to make sure that I cover all the way to the edge. So once everything's dry, I just take my scissors and trim any excess off from the edges of the Masterboard. So the next thing that I do is put down some color. Since I'm doing kind of vintage look, the browns tend to be a little overwhelming. You know, I can just go to town with browns and neutrals all day long, but I wanted to have color, but not like in your face shocking color, because to me that's not very vintage looking. So I pulled some pieces of colored papers out of my stash that I thought would be okay for vintage. There's some printed papers. There's also some napkins and tissue. You know, just things that I thought I might want to use. So I'll show you how I can do that. Here's a little piece. This I think was a piece of scrapbook paper. So I can take and put that somewhere. And if they're like really too bright, but like the colors are okay, but they're really kind of out there, don't worry about that, because I'll show you what I do. And again, I kind of go over off the edge a little bit because I don't want any naked edges, you know. I don't see too good anymore, so I'll maybe overcompensate a little bit. But I'll put some color pieces down, and then also just some printed things just for, you know, extra added interest. This is a Japanese piece of Japanese paper. So I think I'm going to put it right there. I'm not really thinking too much about where it's going. Doesn't matter because I'm going to cut this up. And yeah, you're really not going to be able to tell what's where. You do want your pieces to be kind of small because, you know, you put a big piece on here, then once you cut it up, it's going to take up your whole ATC and kind of defeat the purpose of doing this. So yeah, mix it up a little bit. Let's see. See this one? I think those colors can pass for vintagey. And I'm just gonna maybe put it there. Kind of random, but kind of not. More like, no, see, I've got a straight edge here and one there, so let's, or I could do it this way. Yeah, let's do it this way. Planned randomness, there we go. That's what I need. And if you have some book pages that are a little bit brittle and, you know, they just, you fold them and then they crack, this is a good way to use up some of those. Just glue them down, that way it doesn't matter if they're brittle or not, because they're just getting glued. Like that. I wanted to kind of also get this video done today because I'm going to need to take a break. And, oh, see, ripped it. That's okay, we're collaging. I've got a large project that I'm working on, and the project has a deadline. And if I don't just focus on nothing but that, it's not going to get done. So yeah, it may be a while before I can take the time to do another video. We'll just see. So that is why I wanted to do this today. You know, I don't have anything new and exciting to do, but I just did want to, I wanted to touch base before I get going on my project, and when I get finished, I'll try to remember to show you what that project is. I've used this in several of my Masterboards. It's just some mulberry paper, and it's really pink, and I'm okay with it. Because if, as you work and you think, you know, you put something down, and then you put more stuff down, and then you go back to that thing that you were kind of iffy on, and you decide, ooh, I really don't like that, it doesn't matter, because you can just glue something else over it, and it's fine. So don't worry too much about making a wrong choice. Just make a choice. Go. Maybe another little one over here. And I always like some sheet music. And I don't pay attention to if it's upside down or not. It doesn't matter. This on everything. I bought some of that bamboo toilet paper one time because I wanted to. It was bamboo. How fun. But it came individually wrapped in these kind of awesome printed papers. So I saved every single one of the paper wrapper cover things. That's what this is and this. Okay, I like that. That looks to me, when I look at this, I'm like, okay, that's fine, but it's like the top layer doesn't go with the bottom layer because you've got all these colors on top of really, really neutrals. So what I do to pull these together is to put some light patterned tissue papers or napkins over the top. So this is one of my favorite little pieces. It's just a piece of printed tissue paper, but it's really kind of neutral, and it can help tone down some of the brighter stuff. You could put it over there, you could put it here, just wherever you kind of think something is, woohoo, it's just really, really bold and sticking out, and you want the color, but you want it to blend a little bit more. Then just cover it with some napkin or tissue, and then you'll still get a little, you know, a little peekaboo color without it being all up in your face. So that's why I said when you're doing this, don't worry too much about bright colors not really going, because this just blends it all together for me. Another favorite kind of neutral napkin that I like is this one. Do this. Now these blue ones, everything here is looking good to me, except for these blue pieces. And I'm thinking they just need a little, maybe I don't need to cover it up completely. Maybe I need to just do something like that. Let's see if that's what I need. Oh, yeah, that makes me happier. Let's see if I can do something similar to that one. What have I got? Okay, yeah, that makes the blue a little more palatable for me. Everything else, I think I'm okay with. This right here, maybe a little something over that. What have I got? I like this one. It was kind of bright, but it works. Maybe I'll put some of this scrap over it. That, yeah. Ta-da! I love it. So that's kind of my process for my Masterboards. Just a neutral background. Okay, I should clarify the Masterboards that I'm making today. Tomorrow, I might wake up and do something completely different. But today, a neutral background and then some pops of color, and then some tissues or napkins or whatever to kind of tone down that color a little bit. If you're wanting to use paint on your masterboard, you can do that, you know, paint them back with a light color. I just want these to be collagey. This is bugging me. This needs something in this corner. I'm just sitting here looking at it going, something ain't right. Yeah, it's this corner. Alright, what do I have? Got this little scrap. Okay, I think that might help it. Let me get these layers off. Is that the only one? Whoop. Okay. Now, just a little bit there. Problem solved. So that's how I decide what goes where. If it just something bugs me, it doesn't look right, well, I need to put something there. So now I'm going to let this dry really good, and then we will cut it up into ATCs, and I'll finish one out for you. So I'll be back in a sec. Now our Masterboard is dry, so you can take it on to the next step, which is whatever you want it to be. It can be a journal cover. You can cut it into greeting cards. You can cut it into small squares to make like a mosaic, you know, whatever you want. But today we're going to do some ATCs. So I'm just going to quickly cut this into 2.5 by 3.5 is the standard ATC size. So I'm going to start on the short edge here and make two 2.5 inch cuts. So there's 2.5. And this one's 2.5. So the one I have left here is 3.5. So now I'll just take this one and cut this one at 2.5. So see, that's my finished 2.5 by 3.5. Doing it this way, I think, gives you the least amount of waste. You get that little piece right there, which of course you're going to save because that's going to be awesome and something else. So now I've got this stack of 1, 2, 3, 4. And now these are 2.5 here, so they need to be 3.5 this way. So go over here. Take the 3.5 cut. So now I've got 6 more cards. That's a total of 10 out of that sheet. And then I have these 3 little offcuts, which go back into my little bin to be used for something at some other point. So having a little stack of these on hand is very fulfilling for me, just to have the little Masterboard backgrounds. This is another stack that I did the other day. Colors were a little bit bolder. And so I've just got this whole deck of art cards just waiting to be arted on. And from here, you do whatever. So let's just grab one. We'll take this one. And I think I picked my focal image, and I have some little vintage images, some little people that I've printed out. These are free printables I got. If you just do like a Google image search for free printables vintage people, then you'll find some. And I just make sure that the file is large enough that I get a decent resolution when I print them, and I just print them on my home printer. I do sometimes resize them. You can use a little image editing software to resize them. So, you know, if the file that you get's really big, you can make your little people smaller. You know, just make it easy. Don't do it hard. If you go to the Graphics Fairy, there's lots of good vintage printables over there. So there's a couple of options for focal images. And I like, look at this little girl and this little boy. Aren't they sweet? They just look like a little couple. They weren't, I don't even know if they were in the same file, but either they were and they were the same size, or maybe I just resized them to the same size. I don't know. But they just look like they want to be a little couple. Just right there. They just look so sweet. And I like that. Oh, let's move in. There we go. Yeah. Isn't that fun? So I just need some things to put behind them. And I have some little ephemera pieces from Taperlogy. They have really good printed and die cut ephemera, and they have stickers and vellum and stuff. These are just tickets. I really like tickets, so I'm just gonna put a little ticket in the background. I could pick up one of the colors that's already there. I can choose something contrasting, but maybe that one. That one's good. That pink is too bright. I don't think I want that one. With that one. Or that one. Maybe that one. Kind of liking that. Okay, I'll use that. And my little girl, my little boy, that gives them just a little something interesting right there. Maybe I want it up here. Let's see. Maybe sometimes with people like this, I like to put something to kind of, you know, ground them, something for them to stand on. None of this is making me happy. What's happening here? I don't even know. How about that? That's better. It does need something across the bottom. Washi tape is always a good option. And it may be right here. Ish. And then this one. Here. This here. This here. Okay, I feel better about it now. And it needs something right there, doesn't it? What does it need? Something round? Okay. This is a Taperlogy book. Okay. Drown in the Dream. I can't remember what they called this. I'll see if I can find the exact link to this. Oh, you can't see. Oops. I don't remember what this is, but I pull from it quite often. Oh, look at all these round things. And that's usually what I do. I'm like, oh, I need a butterfly. So, oh, look, there's a butterfly. I don't think I need a butterfly here. I'm still feeling like I want something round right there. Or even like a little flower. Maybe I do want a butterfly. Look at that one. I kind of like it. I like it behind the ticket. And then, okay, see, that's super simple. I'm not going to make this complicated by putting all kinds of layers of a whole bunch of stuff. That's not my goal here. I just want to have a little fun with it. So, zoom back in so you can see. Yeah, looks pretty good, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Stick this butterfly down in the corner, because that's where I needed a little something something. Just like that. Where'd my card go? Okay, and I'm going to glue this down. I'm just going to use a glue stick. And glue down this ticket. Right about there. And then I think I want my little boy on this side, my little girl on this side, just like that. Uh-huh. Boy. And little girl. I think it's Edgar and Maggie. That's their names. I don't know why. That's just what popped into my head. Edgar and Maggie. They look so sweet. So there's just a super easy little ATC. You know, if you wanted to shade around them a little bit, you could. I do usually go in with some ink for the edge. Where's my little spongy? And this is from some face powder that I use, but the sponge comes with it, but I don't like the sponge. I use my own. So we can go around. This is just an old Memories ink pad. It's permanent. The color is Port Red. And that kind of works with the ticket and with that little pink background paper. And it just kind of helps it look a little finished. And there we have it. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that you are inspired to just make a masterboard and then cut it up into little cards that you can use for, you know, simple ATCs or whatever. And I'm going to take a break from videos and work on my project, and whenever that's done I will be back here. Until then, the end.